it happens so fast. Someone gets sharp with you, right? They get loud or pushy or sarcastic or intense, or they're honking at you. And before you can even process it, you're either frozen like a deer in the headlights, or you're yelling at them and possibly making a scene, or you're leaving without saying anything, just like pretending it didn't happen. And that's the one, personally, that feels the most humiliating. So I developed a way to respond to aggressive behavior that lets you stay calm and say one clear thing that lets you preserve your dignity and lets the shame of the other person's behavior stay with them. And if you can do this, it sends a strong signal that keeps people like this from trying it again. Now, almost everybody is vulnerable to rude and hostile behavior sometimes. And I'm not talking about physical aggression here. I'm talking about verbal, emotional, and social aggression that throws you off even when you're used to it. Like, it's a major trigger for dysregulation. And once that happens, it's very hard to think straight or figure out how to respond. It's not always yelling. Sometimes it's pressure or controlling the conversation or acting like it's a debate when really they just want to steamroll you. So some people are intentionally aggressive, but most don't quite know they're doing it. It's just their emotional dysregulation and social dysfunction leaking out on whoever is right in front of them. And if you grew up with a chaotic or abusive environment, other people's aggressive behavior can set off a cascade of reactions in your body before your mind can even catch up. So their dysregulation becomes your dysregulation unless you know how to deflect it. And the more often you freeze or fawn or pretend nothing happened or you lash out, the more your reaction gets sort of set in your nervous system. And it'll feel like you can't control it, like you can never change this, but you can. Now, my husband, who does not have complex PTSD like I do, is a genius at handling aggressive people. I watch how he does it, and learning from him has been like gold to me. So one time, all right, this is this is quite a story. So we were in Napa visiting Kara, who's one of our coaches. She's a friend too, and her husband, and we all decided to go to this kind of shishi food market. We were going to get lunch there, and the parking lot was really crowded. You kind of know where this is headed. We're going to talk about aggressive behavior, crowded parking lot. And so we were waiting for a parking place. These people were packing up their car and leaving for what felt like 15 minutes, and we were sitting in our car waiting and waiting for the spot. And then finally they left, and right as they left, this woman pulled up, or I guess it was a couple of women with kids in the car, pulled up in this really big Escalade or something. And they tried to pull in, and my husband just was like, no, he just pulled in instead, to the point that we were sort of like, hey, watch out. It was a risky move, but he did it. He got the parking place. And she started to scream publicly, curse, the F word, everything, screaming, yelling, laying into her horn, and she would not stop. And we had to get out of the car and go in with her carrying on like that. She didn't just go find another spot. She was just determined, and we just went inside. So then later, we were inside 5 minutes later, and we're walking around looking at these different food stalls, deciding what we want. And who should come up to my husband with her stroller? She starts bashing him in the legs with her stroller, with her child in the stroller. And pretty aggressive, right? And then he turned around and looked at her. This is the genius of my husband. He has this great smile, and he just looked at her and he just smiled and he went, hey, what are you doing? And she goes, well, the parking lot and stuff. And he goes, well, we were there. So anyway, it's just parking. And he was back with this just great warm smile for her. And it disarmed her. She just couldn't handle yelling at him like that. But she said, well, that's what we do in New York. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. He didn't come back and go, well, that's not where we are right now. And anyway, they don't do that in New York. They're not like this woman. So we heard the tale of that they had been bashing him with the stroller, this woman and her friend. And Kara and I, we were just we had to go see these women. We had to go look who did this? Who did this? And so we just pretended we had to go to the bathroom. We found them, and they were at this table alone, and they were drinking white wine, and they had their strollers and kids next to them. And they looked they were so unhappy. And instantly, Kara and I were like, oh yeah, that feeling when you have little kids and, you're pretty overwhelmed and you're having a bad day and who knows what's going on in their lives, even though they were dressed very expensively and everything. And our first reaction was to be like, thinking they think they're better than us. They were not better than us. They were just like more upset than us. But what I learned from my husband that day was that you can deflect people's aggressive behavior, and it saves you so much grief. Because when I get into it with somebody for their aggressive behavior, I'm probably going to get aggressive, or I'm going to shut myself down and be ashamed, or I'm going to not think of what to say and then later be like, why didn't I say this? And it's just this big stressful thing. And the trouble is, when you have CPTSD, something that stressful can throw you into hours or even days of dysregulation. Some of you are going to say, I would do anything to have just days of dysregulation. It's worse than that. So you don't want to get into big aggressive interactions with people. You do want to be able to stand up for yourself. So there's a way to do that. There's a way to stand up for yourself without matching their energy and turning into the same sort of jerk that they're being. But here's the thing. When someone's being aggressive, whether they're overwhelmed or just trying to control the situation, you don't need to solve it or figure them out. You don't. Your only job is to stay regulated and keep your clarity. Because when you stay grounded like that, it throws off the whole dynamic. They might keep pushing, but you don't feed it. And without your reaction, the pressure has nowhere to go. It fizzles. Or it reveals itself. Now, sometimes the other person's going to feel foolish, and sometimes they feel sorry, not because you got them, but because they can finally see the contrast between their behavior and yours, but it requires that you show that better behavior. That's the power of a calm, clear response. Now, this only works if you know how to get re-regulated. The first thing is you have to know the signs that you're dysregulated. Most people, they don't know about that yet. If you don't know about it, I have a list that you can have so you know what happens in your body and your thoughts when your nervous system is getting reactive and getting out of sync. This is a very common trauma symptom. I'll put a link to those signs in, it's called Signs of Dysregulation. It's a free download, and I'll put it down in the description section in the top line. Okay, the description section is right under this video. So here are 5 phrases you can use when someone's coming at you hard, not to win, not to prove anything, just to stay clear and let their behavior speak for itself. The first is, that's not going to work with me. So you say it once, just once. Say it steady. No detail, no attitude, no explaining, just a quiet refusal to be pulled in. The second one is you can say, all right, say what you need to say. I'm listening. So this resets the tone. It takes the air out of posturing or raised voices, and it gives them a chance to talk like a human or reveal that they don't want to talk, but at least it gives you the high ground and diffuses the situation. Number 3, all right, I need to take a second. That's what you can say. This one's for when you feel yourself start to spin and get dysregulated. You're not shutting them down. You're managing yourself. And it buys you space. And often that is all it takes to turn the situation around. Saying it as something that you need to fix in yourself, and you say it lightly and straightforwardly, it's disarming. And you're not saying you have to change. You're saying I have to change. And this can help to keep them from getting triggered and reactive and escalating the conflict. Number 4 is you can say, let's press pause. I want to come back to this clear. All right, that sounds good, right? You're not fleeing, you're not taking a break, you're making it clear you'll engage, but not in the middle of chaos. And again, especially with people you're close to, this is a way to prevent escalation because you're asking for a break, but in a neutral, non-accusatory, non-abandoning way. And this is useful even when you disrespect the other person's behavior, because if the conflict escalates, it can cost you several days of dysregulation. So we're always like, is it worth it? Number 5, and here's one of my favorites. You just look at them in the eye and you say, ouch. And this one holds the mirror up to them, very gently. It doesn't accuse, but it's the least triggering way possible. And it makes them own what they're saying without you getting, pulled into the weeds, arguing about it. So memorizing a few of these can help you hold your ground and stand there like a badass, even when inside your heart is racing and you're still trying to figure out what happened and what you're going to say. For a person like me who gets dysregulated under stress, this is like kryptonite in your pocket that you can pull out to immobilize your opponent. Not hurt them, but just stop them from hurting you. And to buy yourself time so you don't lapse into fawning or freezing or matching their aggression when that's not what you want. You want your wits about you. You want to be very aware whether there's danger, whether there's anything you have to do about the way the other person is acting. And the biggest thing you can do is get your vibe right. And I'm talking about a regulated nervous system, because even when you're not aware, even when other people aren't aware, we feel each other's nervous system state. You, regulated, are formidable, but dysregulated, the phrases I'm teaching you can't work very well because they come out with a feeling, a nervous system vibe of a frantic state that undermines your formidableness. Your authority just drains out. Your ability to re-regulate is like a superpower, and it puts up a force field around you that makes others a little less likely to mess with you. Have you ever noticed that? You don't need to become, someone other than you are, and you don't have to get tough. It's not like that. It's not about changing other people, and you don't need to match their energy or take them down. It's about just getting calm enough to see clearly and access the words and energy you need to put up your force field of neutrality, and let that disarm the aggressive person without them realizing you did anything. And if you really want to master re-regulation, that is what I teach, how to get re-regulated and attuned and connected. And you can start learning this in this little gem of an online course called Dysregulation Bootcamp. You can check that out by clicking it's a link I'll put down in the second row of the description section below this. This is one of my most popular courses, and I think you'll love it. It's short, it's to the point, it tells you what to do. So what makes emotionally aggressive people regret how they've behaved is the contrast. They're spinning, you're not. They're overstepping, and you're calm. They're pushing, and you're holding your line, without emotion, without drama. One pause when you usually snap. One clear answer when you usually shut down. One decision not to go down that path again. That's how people feel the full weight of their behavior, without you having to carry it for them. And then they do something about it, or they don't. But you've handled things honorably. You get to hold your head up. If aggressive people keep catching you off guard and you keep walking away wondering, why didn't I say anything? Now you have something you can use. Write down these phrases that I gave you. Keep them where you can see them, because when tension hits, you won't turn into the thing you hate. You'll fall back on the thing that you practiced instead. And when what you've practiced is clarity, you walk away feeling dignified and a little stronger than you were before. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. Today, what's happening is your own behavior. And the worse you were hurt back then, the more likely it is that you have a pattern of hurting yourself now.